Hello everyone, in this video we are going to discuss the quarterfinals of the Chess.com Global Championship 2022. Total 8 players are playing this tournament. So other players have been eliminated in the past. So the 8 players names are Hikaru Nakamura, Wesley So, Anish Giri, Sam Savian, Timur Rajabov, Nihal Sarin, Andrikin Dmitry, and Jan-krzysztof Duda. So yeah, and it's going to be the quarterfinals, and the tournament is going to be very interesting. And the prize I believe the prize fund is around $1 lakh, which is just a huge amount. So in this video we are going to discuss the match between Hikaru Nakamura versus jan-krzysztof Duda. Both the players are going to play the 4 games against each other, no matter the result. Okay. So we are going to discuss all the 4 games because all the 4 games are simply interesting. And recently, Hikaru Nakamura is the current Fischer Under World Champion, and jan-krzysztof Duda recently won the AIM Chess Rapid, in which he beat Magnus Carlsen in the semi-finals and beat Shakhtar Mamedyarov in the finals. So both the players basically are at their peak. So it's going to be very interesting watching these games. So in the first round, the time control is 15 minutes plus 2-second increment. The tournament is going on, so you can just watch it. So yeah, Hikaru Nakamura with the white pieces in the first round starts out with 1 e4, and jan-krzysztof Duda e5, knight f3, knight f6, and we have the Petrov. Usually black replies with knight to c6, but recently knight f6 is becoming popular as Jan Nepomniachtchi have played it in the tournament, in the World Championship against Magnus Carlsen. Knight into e5, and black played d6. Knight f3, knight into e4, d4, opening up the task for bishop, d5. So it's all common theory. Bishop d3, bishop to f5, short castle, bishop e7, rook e1, short castle, knight to d2, knight to d6 back. If white bishop takes the bishop, we take with the knight. Knight to f1, simply white is simply, both the players are basically maneuvering the pieces here and there, putting the pieces at the best square. You can see the knight either square might be on g3 or even e3. c6, giving pawn structure a good look. Bishop to f4, bishop into d3, queen into d3, knight to a6. The idea is to play knight to c7 followed by knight to e6. So now comes h4 by Hikaru Nakamura. In this position, white played h4, and now there's going to be no more backrank mates. Perhaps the idea could be to play h5, h6 in the future. Knight to c7, Duda is coming with his plan. Putting the knight at e6 would be a good idea. And now comes knight to g5 by Hikaru, already going in for the attack. Threatening mate in 1, so Duda simply prevented it by playing g6. And now we have knight to e3, going to d7. Idea is to bring another rook into the game by playing rook to e8. And now here we have h5. Definitely capturing the pawn leads to one move mate. So capturing the pawn doesn't look any alright. So black went for the move f5. f5 is a fine move, but I think a more safer move in this position would be to play bishop to f6. As it was the first game, Duda should have played it more safely, I believe, because there are 3 more games to go. So like if he loses this game, it's going to be he's basically going to lose all confidence. So it's going to be, the first game are always very crucial in any tournament, I believe. So I believe bishop f6 would have been a good move, because after take we can simply capture with either of the pawn, but I think f takes would be more nice because the rook's file is open and black is pretty healthy. But he played f5, and here we have knight to h3. Hikaru simply went back with the knight, and the reason I'm saying that f5 was more aggressive, because I don't know, perhaps we can simply take. The king is basically more open. Knight to e6, pawn takes, and here's your moment. Feel free to pause the video, and I believe Hikaru Nakamura played the move which jan-krzysztof didn't expected him to play. So it's going to be a good chance for you to warm up. So please make sure to pause the video and try to find the best move in this position. Okay, so all those who have came up with the move that Hikaru played in the game was knight to g4. simply brilliant. And if you just analyze this game, this move is basically a brilliant category, because the reason is quite simple. If you try to capture the knight in this position, which looks the most natural option, queen into g6 check, and here, for example, if you move the king, for example, you simply play rook into e6, and it would be simply winning. You simply regain the piece. It's the black king is in the verge of mating. So knight to g7 looks the only move. And here comes rook into e7, again giving an exchange sacrifice. Queen into e7 is kind of forced. And here comes not bishop into d6, because it leads to queen e6, and now black is the one who is winning. Because, like, for example, if you do a couple of exchanges in this position, you will get to know this position is simply winning for black, because white knight is simply trapped on h3. So yeah, basically bishop into d6 is not working. But here comes the move knight to g5. Simple threatening mate in 1 in this position, and you won't believe, but the best move is to give up the queen. And now it's winning for white completely. So I'm definitely 100% sure that definitely Hikaru did saw it, and that's the reason after knight g4, Duda went for the move knight to f7, giving some protection to the black pieces. And here comes knight to e5, simply centralizing the white knight, hitting the knight and the queen and the pawn. Knight into e5, because that's the only move. If you try to move the queen, you simply lose the g6 pawn. Knight into e5, bishop into e5, and here comes rook to e8, bringing the last piece into the game. And here comes rook to e2 by Hikaru. Definitely his idea is to play rook to e1, and yeah, definitely I would prefer white in this position, because first of all, white dark square bishop is super strong, and though black can simply trade it by playing bishop f6, but black king side pawn structure looks tremendously weak. I don't know, perhaps g4 can be a possibility, as you cannot take, because g6 is hanging. So definitely white king looks much safer than the black king, so definitely Hikaru is having some chances. Bishop to d8 was played in the game. If black goes for playing up the move bishop to f6 in this position, here bishop into f6, rook into f6, and here comes rook h1, and white is putting a huge amount of pressure on the e file. And for example, if you try to move the knight, for example this, rook into e8 check, knight into e8, and here comes queen to e3, simply hitting the knight. And if you try to defend it, let's check by playing, okay, king f7, rook to knight g5. Let's check by playing, if you try to play a rook to f8. But here comes the move queen to g5, and there are too many weaknesses on the board, and black is simply collapsing. That's the reason he played bishop to d8. Perhaps he wants to treat the bishops like by playing bishop to c7. So rook to e1, and here comes the g5 by Duda. Being more aggressive, but this is the right move. Playing g5, everything is protected. So f3 by Nakamura is stopping this g4 move, because it basically traps the knight. f3, a6, a slow move by Duda, trying to wait for Hikaru to watch what he can do. So Nakamura simply replied with a waiting move by playing c3. Rook to f7, knight to f2, knight to f8, queen to d2. Now putting some pressure on the pawn on g5, knight to g6, knight to d3. Rook to h7. And guys, in this position, there is a very interesting theme. You definitely can't capture the bishop, because after knight into e5, you simply lose the queen, and the rook. The queen and the rook are simply attacked, and you're simply going to lose the exchange. And the knight is actually very, very well placed on the e5 square. So even if the queen and the rook were not attacked in this position, I believe still capturing the bishop would have been a bad idea, because the knight is extremely strong in the center. Rook to h7, knight to c5 was played in the game, simply hitting the queen, queen to f7, bishop to d6, and now e file is opened up. So definitely there is going to be a lot of drama. Rook into e2, one of the most natural moves. You have to capture it, or else there is no more move. Rook into e2, queen to e2, and now definitely white is simply better, because white pieces are just, white knight is simply brilliantly placed on c5, simply hitting the pawn on b7. White is having single line control of open e5, and I believe it's going to be very difficult for Duda to handle. Bishop to b6 going for the knight, knight into b7, and now comes simply phenomenal move. queen into b7. I was going to see what happens if black tries to capture the knight. So basically, Nakamura simply sacrificed the knight, and here comes queen to e8 check. Knight to f8 is not possible because one move made, so you have to play king g7, bishop to f8 check now, knight into f8, because if you try to, let's check back with the king, now bishop h6, and it leads to a fourth mate. And if you try to run away like this, now queen e6 is the fourth mate, and if you, like, I think the moves are over. So basically knight into f8 was the fourth move, and now comes rook to e7 check. Takes, king moves, queen takes, and here we have queen versus three minor pieces, but Hikaru is having two pass pawns on the king side, which are simply connected, and it is nearly impossible for Duda to stop. So that here we have something interesting. Nakamura sacrificed more pawns, but the king was open, so he was able to regain every single pawn, and he simply traded off every pawn of the Dudas, and now he's simply having 3 pawns, and he's simply pushing the pawns from both sides. Which nearly after 63 move, by playing g6, jan-krzysztof Duda resigned, and Hikaru Nakamura have won the first game. So yeah, it was a very interesting game. So yeah, so it's going to be very interesting to see will Duda make a comeback or not. So let's move to the second game. In the second game, okay. In the second game, Hikaru is playing with the black pieces and Duda is playing with the white pieces. Duda starts with 1d4. We have knight to f6, c4, e6, knight to f3, d5, and we have the Catalan on the board. And here Nakamura simply chops off the pawn on c4. Bishop g2, knight to d7, short castle. And there is a very interesting variation in this position. If anybody from the black side doesn't aware how to deal with Catalan, I believe it would be a good lesson for you, because after bishop e7, let's take bishop g2, castle. Here you can simply capture the pawn, and here the best move forward is to play queen c2. Here you can play b5, and here the best move is to play a4. You can play bishop b7, sacrificing this pawn, and here there's a very interesting variation. You can just check out this particular variation, which is very I would say very interesting for black. So yeah, here's my one tip. So d into c4 was played by Nakamura, bishop to g2, knight to d7, short castle, c6, a4, a5, simply chopping from white to gathering more space in the center, in the queen side. Knight to c3, bishop to b4, queen to c2. It looks like Nakamura simply got the pawn on c4, and here Duda is also not protecting the pawn on c4, not trying to recapture it. So short castle, knight to a2, and here comes b6. Knight to d2, hitting this pawn and also hitting the c6 pawn. So here comes bishop into d2, bishop into, and here comes knight to d5. So basically Nakamura is saying you can simply grab it back, but I'm having the move bishop a6, or perhaps something else. e4 hitting the knight, knight goes back, rook to d1, bishop to a6, bishop to g5. So what's happening? White is having a brilliant center. Black is a pawn up. Black pieces are just too passive, but currently no weakness on the board, so I believe the position is equalish. And yeah, we have h6, bishop to f4. Definitely if you try to capture queen into e7, and I will already favor slightly black in this position, because first of all, white have lost his bishop pair, and black is pawn up. So yeah, bishop f4, keeping the bishop, having the dark square control. Knight to f6, knight to c3, knight to g6, hitting the bishop. Bishop goes to e3, queen to c7, h3 in the position, rook to d8, f4, and now Duda again going for the attack this time, and it's going to be interesting to see how Hikaru is going to reply to it. So after f4, we have rook to e8 by Nakamura, simply developing the pieces. Rook queen to f2, jumping with the queen, and perhaps idea is to play f5 in the future. Knight to d7, and first playing e5, simply having this light space control, and it definitely looks like white is better. But the engine says it's equal, so it's going to be interesting to see. Knight to e7, definitely the most ideal square for the knight is to go on d5. g4, f5, and now yeah, f5 is a very interesting move. Perhaps f6 it doesn't seem work, but f5. And yeah, after f5 you have rook to d2, if white tries to capture the pawn, we can simply capture with the knight, and it looks like white attack has suddenly stopped. And if black tries to end pass, we have knight into f6, and it's more like a French, I believe, now. The d5 squares are the most ideal square for the knights, and perhaps, I don't know, perhaps g5 can come, but this position is slightly better for black. We have rook to d2 instead, rook to f8 now, queen to h2, rook f7. So basically Nakamura is now bringing the piece on the king side, king to h7, bishop to f3, now playing g6. And now suddenly it looks like black position is simply too solid. Queen to h4, Duda coming with the queen, rook to h8 now. Wow, I didn't expect him to play rook to h2. I don't know what's the idea. Perhaps after g5 he can play the king, but after h5 he can move the pawn. Okay, so basically the idea could be to after playing g5, he wants to move the king somewhere to protect the h6 pawn. Rook to g2, knight to f8, protecting the everything on the king's side. It's basically safe, very safe for Nakamura. Queen to f2, bishop to b7, protecting the pawn on c6. Or perhaps the idea could be c5 and open up the position. Queen to e2, queen to d8, queen into c4. So basically Duda has gained his pawn. F into g4, rook into g4, and here knight to f5. This position is already better for white because first of all, white have regained his pawn, so material wise the position is equal. And second, white is simply going all in with the attack. So after knight to f5, we have bishop to f2 in this position. White trying to keep the bishop pair, which is a good idea, I believe. Here comes b5 by Nakamura. A bad move again. Here comes queen to d3. If white tries to capture the pawn cb5 and suddenly the queen is attacked, the bishop is attacked. So after queen d3, bishop into f3, and suddenly white have lost all his advantage because white has lost his bishop pair. So very nice move by Duda, queen to d3, keeping the bishop pair in the position c5 now. Now bishop into b7, rook into b7, and here comes a to b5. The best move in this position was to play queen to e4 in this position, perhaps knight to e4. Yeah. Queen to e4, knight to e4, both the moves are extremely fine move. The queen e4 simply hits the rook, and you can soon capture the pawn on c5 now. So even the b5 pawn is hanging, so everything is collapsing for black suddenly. But instead, Duda went bit greedy and went for the directly pawn to a into b5, which is still winning for Duda. C into d4, knight to e4. Rook to queen to b8, going for the pawn on b5, and here comes the move, knight to d6. Now again, white is having a huge advantage because the knight is hanging, the rook is hanging. So we have rook to g7. If black tries to capture the knight in this position, rook into g6, and the game is nearly over. After takes, it's a mate. So basically, rook to g7, bishop into pawn, and we have rook to g8. Knight to e4 coming back with the knight. Perhaps the idea could be to play knight to f6 check. Knight to d7, bishop goes back. Rook to f8, queen to c4. Queen to b7, hitting the knight and putting some pressure on the pawn. Queen to c6. Duda simply going in for the queen to it. The best move in this position would have been to play something like, let's check the move. There are many moves in this position to continue. There can be a move like queen e2 in this position, queen to d3. I don't know, perhaps the idea is to bring the rook into the game or something like this, but or perhaps putting some pressure on the pawn on g6 and then playing knight to d6 in this position. But queen to f3, queen to c3, it's still fine, but not the best. Rook to b8 takes knight to c3. White is the pawn up in this position, but okay, here's some bad move. Here the best move was to play something like knight to f6 check, and after takes, it's better for white. But okay, here we have knight to c3, knight to p6, rook to d1, knight to c4, hitting the pawn, rook comes to d8, rook comes to d7 now, rook to c7, and here suddenly black pieces coming in. Here comes the move, knight to e4, but the only move for white to keep the advantage in this position was to play rook to g2, defending the bishop. And for example, after rook into b2 in this position, we simply have rook into ec4. So, and if you try to capture with the knight, here comes the move, knight to e4 in this position. This is hanging, this is coming in, and it's nearly a mid. Like for example, if you try to make a waiting move, knight to d6 is a very strong move in this position. So basically, white pieces are coming too much in, and B pawn is already very strong. Some much was happening in this position, but knight to e4 was played. Rook to c2 in this position, king to g1. So rook to c1 check, king here. So perhaps Hikaru was already fine with the draw because it's already winning for white. b3 now, knight move, takes, knight check, and again white lost his all advantage. In this position, the best move was to play knight to e6. And for example, after the knight trade, if we try to capture this pawn, we have simply rook to g3, and this position is winning for white. You won't believe it, but after this, we have rook to c3, the only winning move. And after the knight move from where, like over here, we simply give a check, try to push this pawn, and white is winning. But knight check, king move, and b6. It looks like practically it's still fine, but nothing is happening now because now the white is going to lose the pawn. And here, suddenly black started to push in this position. You can see in this position, it looks like black is already starting to push in this position. Black is having the a pass pawn, and it already looks very bad for white now. Perhaps Duda went in the time pressure in this position. So knight is e4 checking comes, takes, here comes check, knight comes. And here black is the pawn up, but it was a pass pawn. It's still hard to convert, but let's see will Nakamura will be able to convert it on. King comes, check, couple of checks. The game was a bit lengthy, but okay, now definitely Hikaru is making a large amount of progress. Okay, so basically in this position, Duda simply the knight, or else the position is still losing because black pawn is just too advanced. So in the after move number 94, after rook into d2 losing the knight, Jan-krzysztof Duda resigned in the second game with the white pieces, and now Nakamura is in just 2-0 lead. So yeah, so Duda will be able to make any comebacks. So we are going to check out it in the third game. So let's check it out. So sorry. So yeah. Nakamura is playing with the Nakamura is playing with the white pieces and Duda is playing with the black pieces. We have e4, e5, knight f3, knight to c6, bishop to b5, knight to f6. We have the royal piece on the board. d3, bishop to c5, c3, d5, playing the ball in defense, takes, queen to d5, bishop to c4 hitting the queen to d6, knight to d2, bishop to c5, bishop to f5, all very standard theory. b4 hitting the bishop, knight to g5, going for the pawn on f7, short castle, knight to e4, knight into e4, pawn into e4, queen to d1. So basically we already have came into the end game. King to f2, h6, knight to f3, bishop into f2, rook to f1, bishop goes back to b6, a4, a6, knight to h4, knight to d8. So basically white is expanding on the queen side. White is putting some pressure on the pawn on f7, I suppose. Knight to g6 can be a move in this position. Both the sides are having the bishop pair. White is having the isolated pawn on e4. So the position looks nearly equal. So after knight to d8, we have a5 expanding on queen side. Bishop to a7, and now putting the knight to f5. A very good square for the knight. I believe the ideal square for the knight. And here comes knight to e6. In this position, black can simply continue the game by playing king to h7 or king to h8, simply moving the king from this bishop diagonals, and there could be some idea to push the pawn. And definitely, if you try to capture the knight in this position, it would not be a good idea because I believe white can capture with any of the pieces, but I believe after rook into f5, first of all, black have lost his bishop pair, and second, white is having the bishop pair, and I believe there could be some attacking chances for white. That is the reason capturing the knight is a good or bad idea, but knight to e6 was played instead. And now comes the move bishop into h6. Again a sacrificing move by Nakamura. Bishop into f1. If you try to capture the bishop in this position, now comes the move knight into h6 check, and you simply lose the bishop. So perhaps Duda didn't saw it, and he played the move bishop into f5. And here comes e into f5. That's the reason knight to e6 was a necessary move to play bishop into h6. Because here the knight is simply hanging. So g into h6 was played in the game. Kind of fourth move. F into e6. F into e6. Bishop into 2. Because if we won't take the pawn is already too advanced. Pawn takes, bishop takes king, move rook to d1. It's an opposite color bishop, but black is having 5 pawns. White is also having 5 pawns, but black pawns are looking too big, too weak. Rook takes, rook to f8. So basically, Duda is like, let's go into the bishop, opposite bishop endgame, and it would be a draw. Hikaru is like, okay, fine, let's go into the bishop endgame. Let's see, will we be able to make a draw now? Bishop to c8 now. The only move which keeps the advantage for white. White is going to get 1 pawn in this position. And here b6, c5 was played in the position by Duda. This position, you won't believe, but winning for white. Not too much, but the advantage is like 1.77. It's still, there is still a lot of work to do in this position. Bishop to b5 was played in the game. Pawn takes, and okay, here's our moment. It's my second question. It's the third game. What will you play in this position? If you are white, you are in the shoes of Hikaru Nakamura. So feel free to watch the video. Okay, so I believe that you guys may have found this move. The move is extremely hard to find. A6. This was simply rapidly played by like blitzing out the moves by Nakamura. E6 was played in the position which was the best move. The most actual move looks like black have recently captured the pawn on b4. So it looks like capture the pawn, but it's the drawish move now because after takes it is holdable. But the reason after takes push is the winning move because the bishop is simply logged in. The bishop is simply logged in this position. You can't move the bishop now. The bishop is simply the present. So after takes it, white king is simply move free. So like this take was played in the game position and g4 was played by Nakamura, stopping every counterplay from the black side. Like for example, if you even try to push the pawn, like for example, still a6 is the winning move because if you try to push the pawn, b into a5 and black bishop is open. Though it's still winning for white, but not that much. But a6 was simply a brilliant move, and after g4, Jan simply resigned in the position. There's no counterplay, I believe. Like after king e7, king to c3, and basically I believe Duda simply calculated everything. Like if you try to go with these pawns, it's white idea is just damn simple. You go for the bishop and you're going to make a queen. And if you try to go for protecting the bishop, white is going to chop every pawn on the queen side and going to make a queen on the queen side. Brilliant game played by Hikaru in the end game. So the score is 3-0. So it's going to be interesting to watch the fourth game. So in the fourth game, Nakamura is playing with the black pieces. Duda is playing with the white pieces. Duda starts with 1e3. Okay. Duda, I think that Duda might have lost all his confidence and he went for the move e3. He's like, I don't want to play. To play e3. And this opening name is, can't prove this opening, I don't know. So yeah, we have e5 by Nakamura. Okay. I'm not seeing this position. I'm not seeing this game. I'm just watching the game live. King e2 was played by Duda in the fourth game. So basically, he have already lost all his confidence. King to e2 on the second move. d5 by Nakamura. d4 by Duda. Knight to c6, knight to c3. So Duda is like, I don't even want the 1 point against Nakamura. Knight to c3, knight to f6, f3. So basically Duda is like, I'm going to win by playing the Bongcloud or I'm going to lose. And you are playing the Bongcloud against the player who plays the Bongcloud in almost all his videos on the YouTube. So f3, bishop to d6, king to f2, short castle, knight to e2, queen to e7. Black is playing extremely solid in this position, simply castling, developing the pieces, having a nice center. So yeah, knight to b4, knight to b5 going for the bishop to b4, c3, bishop to a5, a4, bishop to b6, a3. a5 would have been a lucky move if the b4 would have been already played. But a5 is not working in this position because the pawn is simply hanging. h3 was played, a6 hitting the knight to e8, and now black is like, I'm going to simply blow up your king. I'm going to punish you for not castling, for playing the Bongcloud against me. b4 was played in the game, knight to e6, g3, rook to e8, rook to a2. Queen to f6, king to g2, bishop to f5, g4. So now suddenly white is simply pushing up on the king side. Bishop to g6, knight to g3, h5, attacking, pushing up on the king side, trying to open up because the king is. White have lost all his coordination suddenly because rook to g1 was played, h4 now. In this position, the best was to capture the pawn, and you can't capture because the bishop is hanging. And after bishop f5, you can might play the move like rook to g1 now. Now you can go for the plan, but he played rook g1 first, now a4, and here knight in, and I believe black position is just too harmonious in this position. White is like, I'm going to block everything and going to make a draw. It looks like, but black is simply going to blow up the position where black is the player Nakamura. Bishop a7, queen to e1, bishop to d6, bishop to d3, queen move, knight came, takes, knight centralizes, and so you won't believe, but the position is equal in this at this point. So yeah, playing a Bongcloud in the tournament is not a bad idea. Knight to e2, the best move to equalize the position was to play e4 in this position, and after knight into c, knight e7 is the best. Knight to f4 check is also the best. Knight to e into c3. It's the most interesting move because it sacrifices the knight. After bishop into c3, you can capture the pawn, and white is having the strong pawns. So bishop to a1 is the best, but I think it's still very hard for white, practically very hard for white to continue the game. So that's the reason perhaps Duda played it, and he played the move, a safer move, knight to e2. Queen to e7, rook to e1, c6, rook to b7, rook to b2, pawn takes, knight takes, queen to f6, rook to b1, g6, playing a calm move, king to h1, and suddenly it looks like perhaps the position is fine, but the bishop is not doing much, but hitting the most ideal piece for the white, and the knight is well placed on the d5, I would say, hitting, like, there are too many weaknesses for white. Rook to e2, bishop takes, finally takes, rook to e7. And I can guarantee without looking at the engines, it's simply winning for black. Here's comes the weakness. Here's the second weakness. White is black having the open file. You can in your entire life you can't move the knight from the d5 square because you're having the dark square bishop, and white black's having the knight on the light squares. You can't basically hit the knight with the pawn because there are no pawns, and black is simply hitting everything. So basically it's all losing for white. Bishop into f4 takes, rook to f1, suddenly defending everything, but now something is going to collapse. Check. And here on the move number 44, after playing c3, Duda resigned because it's losing. You can't stop the queen, and 4-0 by Nakamura. Simply, I believe he simply crushed the motivation of Duda after winning the ancient strapon, and perhaps it's the level of the World Fish Random Champion 2022, Hikaru Nakamura. So basically, he's currently leading the tournament with 4-0. I would try to show you the results in perhaps anyway over here. So yeah, definitely after getting beaten by Nakamura, I hope that Duda will make any comeback sooner. So we are going to wait for the games of Duda, and definitely looking for the games from Nakamura because he's the current world random fish champion, and it's going to be very interesting to watch his games. So I'm going to see you guys. If you like the analysis of all the games, all the 4 games, then make sure to like the video. Click to the subscribe button if you are new to our channel, and make sure to share this video with everyone to get to know that even a GM can play a Bongcloud against the World Fish Random Champion Hikaru Nakamura. So I'm going to come up with these interesting videos like this. So till then, stay tuned and keep watching Oneshot Chess.